What if I told you that a single rule change just revealed one of the most telling differences between superstars and legends? Not their talent, not their clutch gene, but something far more fundamental about how they think about the game itself. The NBA just approved what they're calling the heave rule for next season. Sounds boring, right? Here's what most people miss. This isn't just about basketball. It's about ego, sacrifice, and why Nikola Jokic might be the most selfless superstar the league has ever seen. Let me paint you a picture. It's the end of the first quarter. Your team's down by 2. There's 2.8 seconds on the clock, and you've got the ball at half court. Most stars, they'll let that clock run out. They'll protect their precious shooting percentage instead of giving their team a chance at 3 points. But not Jokic. Never Jokic. Here's where this gets wild. Last season, Jokic led the entire NBA with 22 end-of-period heaves, and that's not just a random number. It's set an NBA record for most heaves in a single season. Think about that for a second. The best center in basketball, a guy who could easily coast to another MVP, is out here chucking desperate shots from the logo more than anyone else. Those 22 heaves, he only made 2 of them. But here's the kicker. Including those heaves, Jokic shot 57.6% from the field and 41.7% from the three. Without them, he would have shot 58.4% from the field and 44% beyond the arc. Do the math. Jokic willingly tanked his shooting percentages, statistics that voters obsess over, that media members use to rank players, that define legacies, just to give his team a microscopic chance at a few extra points. That's not just basketball, that's philosophy. But here's where the story takes a turn. There are a handful of NBA stars who have turned down the opportunity to take an end-of-period heave because they did not want it to reflect on their shooting percentages. Let that sink in. Multi-millionaire athletes, guys who supposedly live for competition, are choosing personal stats over team success in real time. Last season, Jokic was one of just 3 players who attempted 10 or more heaves, with Michael Bridges hitting 12 and Anthony Edwards managing 10. In a league of 450-plus players, only 3 were willing to sacrifice their numbers consistently for the team. This isn't about skill or courage, it's about something deeper. The difference between players who see basketball as a vehicle for personal glory versus those who see it as a team sport that happens to have individual accolades. And this is where Jokic becomes truly fascinating. The guy who doesn't care about being famous, who'd rather be home with his horses, who seems almost annoyed by his own greatness, he's the one taking every single shot that could help his team regardless of how it makes him look. What nobody talks about is the mental framework this reveals. Most superstars spend their entire careers building a brand around perfection. Every missed shot is scrutinized. Every percentage point matters for contract negotiations, MVP races, Hall of Fame arguments. Jokic, he's operating from a completely different universe. Basketball Reference says the heave he recently made was the first make of the 38 he's taken from beyond half court in his career. 38 attempts, 1 make, and he keeps shooting them. That's not stupidity, that's Zen-level team basketball. While other stars are calculating how every shot affects their legacy, Jokic is calculating how every shot affects the scoreboard. It's such a fundamentally different approach that it almost seems alien. Think about it from a game theory perspective. Every heave Jokic takes is minus EV for his personal stats, but plus EV for team success over the long run. Most players optimize for individual metrics. Jokic optimizes for wins. That's why Denver won a championship, and that's why he's about to win his 4th MVP in 6 years.
Now here's the plot twist. Starting next season, any shot classified as a heave taken from at least 36 feet away in the final 3 seconds of the first 3 quarters will be counted toward a team's field goal percentage, not the players. The NBA basically looked at this situation and said, you know what, let's stop punishing the guys who actually care about winning. According to Sport Radar, players last season made about 4% of shots taken in the final 3 seconds of the first 3 quarters with the 36-foot minimum distance. 4%. And most stars wouldn't even take those shots because of how it looked on paper. The league hopes this will encourage more players to take these low-percentage shots that could occasionally swing games. But here's what they're really doing. They're rewarding the Jokic mentality while trying to shame the prima donna approach. This rule change is going to expose some uncomfortable truths about NBA culture. Suddenly, we're about to find out which stars were secretly protecting their percentages all along. The players who start taking more heaves next season, they're telling on themselves. Stephen Curry made 4 shots under these criteria last season, and Jokic made 3. But Curry's always been willing to take these shots. The real test comes with the guys who've been conspicuously absent from heave attempts. Imagine being so insecure about your shooting percentage that you won't take a shot that could win your team a quarter. Imagine caring more about how a number looks on Basketball Reference than whether your team gets an extra possession. But there's another layer to this. The rule change might actually hurt Jokic in a weird way. Part of what made his heave taking so remarkable was the sacrifice involved. Now that the sacrifice is gone, it becomes just another basketball play. The moral weight disappears. Here's what most people don't understand about Jokic's approach. It's not just about being unselfish. It's about having such confidence in your ability that individual numbers become irrelevant. When you know you're going to put up elite efficiency anyway, why not take a few extra shots for the team? Lesser players obsess over percentages because they need every edge to look elite. Jokic takes heaves because he knows his real shooting numbers are so ridiculous that a few misses from half court won't change anything meaningful. It's the same mentality that lets him average a triple-double without stat padding, the same approach that has him leading the league in assists as a center, the same philosophy that won Denver their first championship. While other superstars are performing for the cameras, Jokic is playing for the scoreboard. And that difference, that's everything. This rule change is going to force a reckoning in NBA culture. For years, we've celebrated individual excellence over team success. We've created a system where players are incentivized to optimize for personal stats rather than wins. The heave rule is a tiny correction to a much larger problem, but it's also a signal that the league is starting to recognize what fans have known for years. Basketball is better when players care more about winning than looking good. Jokic won't care about this rule change because he never cared about the stats in the first place. But watch how other stars react. Watch who suddenly starts taking more heaves even when there's no statistical penalty. Because at the end of the day, this isn't really about heaves at all. It's about whether you're playing basketball or playing a stat sheet, whether you're chasing rings or chasing numbers, whether you're a superstar or something rarer, a winner who happens to be great. And in that calculation, Jokic isn't just different from other NBA stars, he might be the most honest competitor the league has seen in decades. The rule change won't make him take more heaves, he was already taking all of them. But it might reveal just how few other players were willing to do the same. That's the real story here. Not the rule, but what the rule exposes about everyone else.